Well, good morning. Welcome. Boy, those lights are bright. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today. Any event that you come to with an 87-year history, an incredibly important history, it really, I believe, is a critical business function driving the growth and vitality of our business market here. I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself and my background. I'm an Angelino. Everybody asks if I'm from Redmond, Washington. I was born right here in Los Angeles County, and I have avoided many attempts to move me back to or up to Redmond because I love it here. But in my time over the last 15 years or so in the industry and working with Microsoft, I've become very closely associated with the needs and the opportunities around technology and business. Prior to the current role that I have now, as was mentioned, I worked closely with the manufacturing industry, trying to drive U.S. manufacturing competitiveness with technology. And I think it's there I developed this passion and belief that there are mega trends at work that businesses, that trade organizations need to be aware of and leverage in order to be successful. I've chosen a rather ambitious topic to try to cover in 15 minutes to talk to you about these mega trends. And I also recognize it's dangerous to talk about too much technology at 10 a.m. in the morning. But I think it's critically important that we talk about it. And you understand what's happening, we understand what's happening, and we make Los Angeles the most competitive market in the world. So the theme of my message today is pretty simple, and the message is this. Now more than ever, small and medium-sized businesses have an opportunity to compete on the global stage. These trends that I'm going to talk about have really, in effect, leveled the playing field, where very small businesses have the power and the technology to compete with very large businesses with very low capital infrastructure. This opportunity is huge, and if we don't take advantage of it here, other markets, other cities, other locations will. And so it's my goal and hope that I won't answer all of the questions facing the technology trends, but I hope that you'll all walk away with a few ideas on how we can apply this to your business to be more competitive. So let's go ahead and get started. And I asked for a remote mic because I feel better walking around a little bit. So let's dig in. It wouldn't be a trade presentation without some jaw-dropping statistics. Let's start with my own, and I think this echoes what Noel said earlier. The UN this year is now predicting that by calendar year 2030, 80% of the middle-class households will be in emerging and developing countries. And a middle-class household is defined as a household that earns $20,000 or more a year. Now think about this. That middle-class base is going to account for 70% of global spending. Now, it probably won't be a surprise to you that I believe technology is the gateway to that growth. The World Economic Forum issued some data that talked about the impact of technology and digitization upon these poorest communities. What they said was if we could get the emerging market, what they call the digitization index, doubled within 10 years, look at the result to the global economy. And digitization means basically people that have access to information and the internet. We're going to lift this underserved population through technology. But look at the result. The result would be $4 trillion, $4.5 trillion in nominal GDP around the world. And that's just not money that's sitting in corporations or sitting in government. It's landing in households. Almost $1 billion in additional household income. 64 million new jobs, people coming up out of these economically marginalized populations and becoming customers. This is the opportunity we have to prepare for. So I said technology is going to help lift these populations, but technology is also going to help you find them. Technology is going to help you market to them and compete with companies in those remote markets. So I'd like to talk about these 4 trends. And I think most of you have heard about these trends. You can't turn a page in a business section without looking at them. But what I'd like to do is level set what these mean. And then I'm going to take you through some real-world examples of companies that are using these technologies to compete. And I hope that by showing you that, it'll give you ideas and inspire you how you can do it inside your own companies in your own city. So let's talk about mobile first. Everybody understands that we're on this exponential growth curve for mobility. But what we all have to realize is we've just begun. Right now, the market is creating about 800 to 1 billion mobile devices a year. That sounds like a lot of devices, but by 2016, we will be creating 2.5 to 3 billion mobile devices a year. Every single one of those devices creating data. Every single one of those devices attached to a consumer. And it's not just devices that you know about now, tablets and phones and laptops. These are new devices that haven't even been created yet. They're going to be in our glasses. They're going to be in our watches. They're going to be in our refrigerators. They're going to be in our manufacturing plants. We're going to have sensors on equipment that we never thought of before. And all of that mobility is leading to the second trend, this trend of big data. Now, big data is a buzzword, but what it really means is that for the last 50 years, we've been throwing away a lot of data that we could have been using because we thought that the world was based on structured data. Let's capture it in our ERP systems and these applications that we run at corporate. But the truth is there was a lot more data that wasn't being analyzed, the unstructured data. And the truth is that unstructured data has a lot of interesting correlations, a lot of signals that we can go and grow our businesses with. That ability to capture big data has led to some very interesting quotes or predictions. Gartner states that companies who invest more fully in big data technologies than their competitors have the potential to outperform their competition by 20% in every available metric. Harvard Business Review says that companies in the top third of their industry who use big data decision-making technologies will be 6% more productive and 8% more profitable than their peers. Big data is here. Your company's collecting it. We've got to get about using it if we want to compete. The third trend I want to just briefly talk about is social. I think most of us understand social, but more in the consumer world. What I'd like you to think about is social from a trade perspective. How does social networking and social computing expand your reach, your trade boundaries to new opportunities? I'm going to give you an example in just a minute. And then finally, the cloud. I love this quote, after fire in the wheel, cloud is the new game changer. It is really remarkable, the pace and speed with which the entire IT industry is moving to the cloud. I think you understand that on a personal level, but this cloud is going to enable businesses to operate at a fundamentally different speed. And if your competitor somewhere in Asia is operating on cloud speed and you're not, you're going to feel it. It's coming. So we've got to get ready and be prepared. I'm going to share with you some great examples. All right. So let's dig in and look at a couple examples I think that are great examples of companies right here in Los Angeles that are leveraging the power of the cloud. Herbalife is a global distributor of nutritional products, and they operate in many emerging markets. It's a huge growth area for them. But one of their goals is to support their distributors with new services and capabilities to help them grow their business. And one of the ways they do that, they wanted to do that, was by creating websites for their distributors in these remote locations. They had a fundamentally difficult problem, though. How big will the demand be? Is it going to be huge? Do we build a big data center? Or is it going to be small? Do we offset the expectations of our customers by not getting them what they need? Well, Herbalife took a different approach. Instead of building an internal system to do this, they quickly leveraged the cloud. And instantly, on demand, like a utility, they can turn on that service to grow or shrink based upon the demands of their distributors. And the good news for Herbalife is this. They already have, in under 18 months, 100,000 distributors running their own personalized retail e-commerce websites in 80 countries. Think about the capacity of that. But Herbalife wasn't saddled with additional costs to make that happen. They leveraged the cloud. I want to give you another example from BMW Latin America. BMW Latin America did something that I think is really important. They combined two trends together to tackle a problem. They combined the power of social and the power of cloud to reach a new market. BMW was launching the 1 Series in 10 markets in Latin America. They didn't know exactly who those buyers were yet because they were new. So they launched a Facebook campaign, a Facebook marketing app campaign. And that application gathered data, put it in the cloud, and routed it back down to their CRM systems, their systems to track and work with customers. This social initiative was phenomenally successful. Instantly, using the cloud, they found 90,000 prospects. And then with their follow-up systems, they were able to create 900 campaign participants into pre-qualified sales prospects. And you think about it, we have a way to use the cloud to get to these prospects faster. And here's my favorite quote. Check this out. Instead of waiting a half a year, we had a solution in 2 months. This is what your competitors are operating in. They're operating in this mode of, I cannot wait any longer for IT to get this done. I've got to find a way to get to my customers now. And that's what we need to enable here. All right, let's talk about social computing. I mentioned a few minutes ago that social computing has huge business applications. Many of you may know or be aware of TK Corporation, based in Canada. And TK Corporation is one of the global leaders in oil and gas shipping, storage, and production. They operate in 26 countries. They have a fleet of 150 vessels. They have 6,600 employees. And they operate in some of the most remote places in the world. And they hired a fantastic new employee, an amazing employee. And his name was Matthew. And he was located in Australia at the edge of the earth. And then he was in Perth, which is the edge of Australia. So he was out there. What are the chances that this bright, young, talented person is going to make a difference unless there's some way that the company can find him and capture the ideas that he has? Well, the way they did that at TK is they created an internal social network. They used technology from Microsoft called Yammer, and something amazing happened. TK was discovered. He started to be discovered by the innovation teams. He was jumping on and adding value to almost every conversation he had. He was coming up with ideas on how to improve wind resistance on their vessels. And all of a sudden, the company was like, where has this guy been? In fact, he became so popular after a short period of time, he is now the second most followed person in the company after the CEO. Is that incredible? The idea that we have employees that we're not tapping into in some remote location in our market, that social computing can turn us into a more competitive company. If your competitors are using social computing or social networking and you're not tapping into it yet, I think you're leaving a resource on the table. All right. Last, what I do is just give you an example that I think pulls this all together in a way that can make every small and medium-sized business more competitive, and it's at your fingertips. So let me give you, 2 weeks ago, I was at Microsoft headquarters, and we had a general manager meeting from around the world. And at that meeting, we had a guest speaker, and our guest speaker was Jack Welch, former CEO of General Electric. And one of my colleagues asked Jack Welch a question, because Jack has continued to stay involved in various business activities and venture funds, and he's advising many companies. But the question was, Jack, what do you see happening with these smaller companies? What do you think the opportunities are out there? And his response was this. He said, I'm amazed at the tools that these small companies have that previously only big companies could afford to implement. And specifically, he talked about this concept of using big data, remember all that data that we captured, for price optimization as a driver for margin improvement. I know that's a mouthful of words, but it really means this. Can we be smarter about pricing and improve our margins? And Jack Welch's belief is that his companies, or some of the companies that he works with, were getting 2 to 4% margin improvement, revenue improvement, just through pricing optimization. Small companies outpricing big companies, faster and more responsive. So let's talk about this. This is a company called Digital Folio. They're a small company that's invested in this idea of pricing competitiveness. Now, you can take pricing competitiveness and insert other trade topics or other business topics. There are companies that are collecting data to help you make decisions right now, and you can tap into it. Let's look at this quote. This just blew my mind. This is from their website. Our data will give you the best picture of what is happening in the marketplace by retailer, product, category, and SKU. Even with retailers dynamically changing prices up to once every 6 seconds, competitive data from Digital Folio will help you react instantly and intelligently. Every 6 seconds, they're updating their data? How do they do it? How does this work? So without becoming too technical, I just want you to stay with me for this slide. It really is important because this power is there for you. So what this partner does, digital partner does, is they track 279 retailers. Now, this is primarily US data now, but you can imagine they'll be expanding their analysis globally. Look at those names. They're analyzing that. Now, how would you analyze that much data, retail data, to know about pricing? Well, we're going to use social computing to do it. They do. What they use is crowdsourcing as a mechanism to have consumers use their tool while they're shopping. And all that data streams. So wherever a consumer is that participates in this program, they use a mobile device, that data gets shipped up, and that data becomes useful to the business. So here we've got 3 concepts in one company: big data, social, and mobility, all working together to get you something fast. And here's what it is. They get this data and they put it somewhere, but they don't just put it in a database or lock it in a data center. They put it in a marketplace in the cloud, a marketplace for data in the cloud that you can go to and say, I want that. I'd like to analyze those trends. I don't own that data. In fact, I don't have enough data centers to hold it all, but will you please share it with me? They go to this marketplace, they get the data, and here's how it comes. Look at I know it's too small for you to see, but I'm going to read it. They have an API, which is a way for anyone to get access to this data from the data marketplace, self-service in 3 minutes. Self-service in 3 minutes. So a data provider analyzing pricing every 6 seconds in your hands in 3 minutes. No IT, nobody you're calling and saying, how does this work? Look at where it goes. The data goes into my only plug, Microsoft Excel. We all know how to use Microsoft Excel. So there it is. Now you, as a retailer, as a trader, as somebody who's looking at global pricing, are more informed than your competitor. And guess what? This didn't cost you 16 consultants, 25 architects, a data center, all of that technology infrastructure. You're now competing with companies previously that could only afford this with millions and millions of dollars. Do you catch the vision of what's possible? Of how this is changing the speed with which we compete? And we have to leverage these trends together. I was going to give you a big data demonstration. I captured about 12 million tweets recently about movie data. And I want you to see how powerful the access to information is becoming. I just grabbed this data from that marketplace about tweets. I grabbed 12,406 tweets, and I just pulled it into Excel. If I ran a theater, and I were making decisions about which movies have the most likelihood of filling theaters, Twitter will tell me. How do I figure that out? Because the data is here. It's personal. It's coming, and it will drive you to make better decisions and be more competitive. We need it. All right, so what does this mean? I'll wrap it up. To increasing trade competitiveness for Los Angeles businesses. First, we can level the playing field. Not only with competitors here, but it's important we level the playing field with competitors abroad, big competitors. 2, greatly reduce the cost of experimentation. Remember the story from Herbalife. Hey, let's get this thing up. We'll try it. Let's see what the response is. Oh, if we fail, we'll start differently. 3rd, we talked about Matthew. Align employees and flatten the org. Find the Matthew in your organization. 5th, big data for little companies. And then democratizing access to technology. Why? So we can go compete for those 1 billion new middle-class consumers that are out there. I want to conclude with just a comment about development of people. We cannot win tomorrow's competitive battles, and I know you know this, I don't mean to be condescending, without investing in the next generation. This generation that knows many of these trends better than we do. They're ready to go, like Matthew. They're learning. I just want to comment about Microsoft's focus in this area. We've invested in a program that we call Youth Spark in the last 2 years that's reached 300 million youth, 50 million in the United States alone. And this program has many aspects, but the goal is let's give these kids these kind of tools and see what they can do with it. And they do amazing things. They solve some amazing problems. In fact, we do this thing called the Imagine Cup every year. We have thousands of teams from around the world. We give them any Microsoft tool they want, and they come back to us with problems that they solve. It's inspiring. And I know that World Trade Week invests in education. It was so inspiring to see all of those future leaders up on the stage. Finally, I just want to express my thanks to the LA Chamber. Microsoft made a grant of $300,000 to support the LA Chamber's growth and development of software and tools. So the LA Chamber has access to many of the tools we talked about today. I'm excited to be a part of the business community here in Los Angeles. This is my home. And I know that by leveraging these trends together, we can compete and grow. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.